Welcome to the Active System. In this training video you will learn how to print your tray cards using the Active System. Currently on your screen you have a sample desktop with 3 icons in the center of your screen. The mouse cursor is now on the Active System icon, and we are going to double click it to go into the password section of the Active System. Now you enter in the password given to you by your Active System staff, and then you hit enter to go to load the Active System. Remember, you can also hit Control Enter to disable the password feature of the Active System, so that you will not have to enter the password for an entire day. To reactivate the password feature, you right-click the exit button as you leave the Active System. If you are going to leave the system unattended for any length of time, you would want to right-click the exit button to reactivate the password feature. Now we are going to go into the tray card program, but before we do that, let's take a look at what is on the roster screen. You'll notice that Serious Man in 306B is highlighted, and he has a star by his name in the left side of his name. This means that the resident is marked for a select menu. If you hold down the control key and hit your space bar, you'll see that the star goes away. That's how you take a resident off of the select menu program. To put them back on, you highlight them again and hit control space bar again. So it's a toggle switch. If you hit it, do control space bar once, it puts them on the select menu. If you do control space bar again, it takes them off of the select menu program. Another thing to notice is the green print button in the upper middle portion of your screen where the mouse cursor is now. If you put the mouse cursor over the print button, you see that it indicates that you click this button to print one tray card for the highlighted resident. So that makes it real easy to get one tray card for a resident. That you have a need for another tray card for that resident, or the diet has changed and you need to print another one, you can very quickly get another tray card for that one resident by highlighting them and clicking this print button. If you hit enter on the resident, you go into the admission screen, and you'll notice another print card button here where you can print directly from the admission screen after admitting a resident. So that's the way that you would get a tray card for one resident. It's very quick and easy. But now let's go up to the top of the screen and let's make sure that the diet tab is selected. You'll see the diet tab is selected because it's in bold. The tray card program that we're interested in learning about is in this button here. The upper left corner button is the tray card button, and if you click another tab, you'll see that that button is no longer there. So you need to be on the tab, diet tab, for all the dietary managers options command buttons showing in order to find the tray card button. You click the tray card button to load the tray card program, and you'll notice that the resident who was highlighted, their tray card shows on the screen, and you could simply click the print button now to print the tray card for that one resident. Up at the top of the screen, you'll notice to the left nursing units, and has 2 boxes next to it. The first box is for beginning nursing unit, the second box is for ending nursing unit, and it is set to 2 to 2. The residence has 2 boxes, and it's set 10 to 10 for beginning and ending resident number. And these boxes are automatically set when you go into the tray card program to indicate what is needed to print the tray card for the one resident. So in other words, Serious Man is on nursing unit number 2, and he is resident 10, or line number 10, or bed number 10 on that nursing station. Okay, below that is menu days number. It's set to 1 to 1, and that is usually what it's set if you're printing tray cards. If you're printing meal cards or select menus, it may be a range of days, and this refers to the cycle day number, not the month, the day of the month, but the cycle day number. You usually have a 28-day cycle, and it's referring to one of those 28 days. If you want to print select menus for week number 1, you would make it 1 to 7. If you want to make it week 2, you'd make it 8 to 14. Week 3 would be 15 to 21, and week 4 would be 22 to 28 for your beginning and ending menu day numbers. Next is a dining location number, and it's usually set 1 to 100 to make sure you get all dining locations. Now if you click Set for All, the orange preset button, this sets up the printing for printing all residents in the facility. And you'll notice that nursing units is now 1 to 2 and residents is now 1 to 999. And the 999 is there to make sure you get all residents considered in the facility. It doesn't mean that it will count up to 999 on each nurses station, but some nurses stations have more beds than others, so you simply set it to 999 to make sure that you get all residents on every nurses station. Now the dining locations 1 to 100 is referring to the dining location list that you access from the admission screen of a resident. We're going to go and exit the tray card program and go take a look at the admission screen for Serious Man, room 306B. That person's highlighted. We're going to simply hit enter and get into the admission screen for that resident. And you'll notice down in the bottom that we have dining locations, abbreviations, one for each meal, breakfast, lunch, and supper. This resident is assigned the dining location RM for breakfast, DR for lunch, and DR for supper. Well, let's go into the dining location list, which is accessible from any resident's admission screen through this big yellow button. You simply click that, and now you have the dining location master list for the whole facility. And you'll see that RM is the first dining location on the list and refers to room, and DR refers to dining room. So you can assign your dining locations any way that you want, but this is the list that the tray cart program is going to go down, starting at the beginning dining location number and going to the end. In this case it's 1 to 100. And you go all the way down. You'll see that the actual dining locations end at 34. The star end here on dining location 39 tells the computer to go ahead and stop at 39 because there's no other dining locations past this. So the program won't actually count all the way to 100. We just put it at 1 to 100 to make sure that we include all dining locations possible. But you can always put a star end here to make sure to tell the program that you can go ahead and end now. To change these lists, you simply click the line that you want to change and type over whatever you want. And you can also change the abbreviations in the second column. So let's go ahead and assign resident to table number 7 for lunch and supper. If we wanted to change that, we would just go change this to F7 and F7. Now the resident assigned to table number 7, an actual table number in the dining room, not just the general description of dining room. So you could really set it up any way that you want. Now we're going to go back in, click exit from the admission screen. We're back on the roster. Now we're going to go back into the tray card program to see the resident, and you'll see now at the bottom of the screen the dining locations that we have in for that resident are printed at the bottom of each tray card. Table 7 for lunch and supper, and room for breakfast. Okay, so that's your dining locations. And now let's look at tray cards for the resident. And we'll look at the different options that are offered at the top of the screen. The first option here in the column to the right of nursing units is tray card option. We're going to click that. You'll see the tray card show up down on the bottom of the screen. And the tray card is simply a listing of likes and dislikes for the resident, along with the diet order and the name of the resident. You'll notice also that decaf coffee is highlighted on each of the meals for the resident, and you highlight a dining location by putting an underscore in front of it in the likes and dislikes list. So we're going to exit. We're going to press F, go into the admission screen, and you'll see here decaf coffee with the underscore in front of it. That's how you make something highlighted on the likes and dislikes. Okay, so we're going to go back into the tray card program, and we'll see that tray cards is selected. Now we're going to select meal cards, and you'll notice the meal cards are the same as tray cards, but now you have the actual menu printed on the card. And now we'll select select menus. What we're pressing here, these circles are called radio buttons, and the current radio button that's selected has the dot in the center. You have 5 radio buttons to give you 5 different ways of printing your cards, and they're mutually exclusive. You select one and it unselects the other, so you can only select one of the group. So you have select menus on the screen now. Below that option is pseudo select. I just clicked that and you don't see much different. A pseudo select menu takes the alternates on a non-select menu and moves them into the selection. So in other words, if you have an alternate entree, it moves it in with the entrees. Alternate vegetable is moved in with the vegetables, and then you can add some standard juices and desserts and breads to fill in to make a select menu very quickly from a non-select menu. The next option is the ALF option, and it shows the ALF menu option on the screen. The menu is not really, this menu is not really formatted for an ALF, but it gives you an idea of how it would print. The different meals are checked to the right of ALF to give you a different meal, and you get 7 meals on a page for an entire week's worth of breakfasts, lunches, or dinners on a page for the resident. And then they can pass them out, and they can select for the whole week using the ALF menu. So let's go back up to select menus and click select menus, and you'll see the 2 boxes to the right of select menus, use and use. What this is referring to is to use the font assigned to that checkbox. If you uncheck both of these boxes, you'll notice that the select menus prints in one font. If you select one of the boxes, check one of the boxes, you get another font. If you uncheck that box and check the other one, you get a third font. So you have 3 different fonts you can choose from, and choose whichever one is most satisfactory to you and your residents. But you have 3 different fonts you can choose. Up across to the right of tray cards are 3 check boxes. The first check box they all 3 refer to the watermark, which is the picture behind the tray card. If you check the first box, you get the watermark behind each meal. If you uncheck it, you get one large watermark behind the whole page. The disadvantage of that is whenever you cut the cards, the watermark gets chopped. So you usually want to put one behind each meal. The next option is to rotate the next checkbox is to rotate the watermark 180 degrees if you find the need for that. The third is to move the watermark to the bottom half of the card, and that can also help in placement of the watermark to not interfere with the picture of the resident. Okay, so now we're going to move below the ALF option and look at the 5 boxes that are going to have numbers in them below the ALF option. If you put the cursor in front on top of the first box, you'll see that it refers to the banner, which is the ribbon that contains the title of the nursing home, and you have several banners that you can choose from. The next box is the border, which is the fancy border at the top and the bottom of the menu, and you can simply check up or down to get a different border. The third box is a watermark, which is a picture behind the menu, and you can click the up or down arrow key to load different watermarks. And once you get it on the screen the way you want it, then you just leave it there, and that assigns the banner, the border, and the watermark as you see on the screen. You can print a legend or a catalog of all the watermarks. There are 140 different ones. You can print them out in postage stamp size across the page and get 2 pages worth of all the watermarks listed by clicking this legend button here. If you click it, you get a box. You put a 1 in the box to print the legend of the dots, which we'll talk about later, or a catalog of the watermarks. You put a 2 there and click OK, and you'll get the catalog of all the watermarks, which makes it easier to choose from, looking at them all spread out on a page rather than having to scroll through all 140 to find the one that you want. The fourth box is a box to adjust the printing of the title or the name of the nursing home. You'll notice that the name of the nursing home, currently XYZ Home Nursing Home, is printing out below the ribbon, and we would want to move that up. So we're going to change this to 100 to move it up slightly. You'll see that didn't quite do it, so we may have to make this 50. But this is in TWIPs. The increment of measurement here is a very fine increment of measurement. There are 1,440 TWIPs to an inch. So you have to change it by about 400 to move it about 1/4 of an inch up or down. And you just put the number in and hit enter in this box, and you'll see the name of the nursing home move accordingly, and you just get it to where you want it, and that sets it for printing. The fifth box is the font box to change the font of the title of the nursing home. If you make it a -2, that reduces it by 2 points, and you'll see the font reduce in size. If you want to make it a 2, it increases it by 2 points, and it's a larger size. So we're going to keep it at 0. That seems to be a good size for this particular name in this banner. So those are how you adjust the various fancy aspects of the menu, the border, the banner, the watermark, and placing the title of the nursing home within the banner. Below that, those boxes, is the user radio button, which is a very advanced feature that people don't use very often, but that's how you can user define and design your own tray card to print any way that you want it. So if you want help on that, just call tech support, and we'd be glad to help you to set up your user defined tray card. The next thing to talk about is the printer driver slot, which the cursor is now moving across. It's to the right of the orange buttons, and if you click the down arrow to the right, you get a listing of all the printer drivers that are available on your system. Usually there's only 2 or 3 different printers. But to change the printer that you're going to send your print jobs to, you simply click the printer you want, and that changes it to that printer driver, sends it to that printer until you change it again. So it's a permanent setting until you change it. And this allows you to send different print jobs to different printers attached to your computer or across networks to printers on the other side of your facility if you have it shared to your printer, to your computer. Okay, so now we move over to the columns, the next column of options, which is a series of check boxes. At the top is print by diet category. If you check that, you get a warning telling you that it will print only the residents with the diet category component listed to the right, and that is the first component of the 4. If it is regular, then they'll print, otherwise it'll skip over that resident. And this is designed to allow you to stop between each diet category and change the color of the paper if you want to print on different color paper. It's important to realize this option is here. Most important to make sure it's unchecked if you're not printing by diet category, so you don't inadvertently skip over many of your residents simply because they don't fit into the diet category. So keep that unchecked most of the time unless you are in fact printing by diet category. The next is print by dining location. This is a second option. If you check that, then the system will go down the list of dining locations, starting at the beginning dining location listed over here to the left, and going to the ending dining location. And it will go through each dining location, look at the abbreviation, and look at every resident in the facility. If they match the dining location abbreviation, then they'll print. If not, it'll go to the next resident. And that's how you print out a tray line ready stack of tray cards, by printing by dining location. The box to the right of dining location, if you put the mouse cursor over it, you'll see that you can print by the standard. By keeping it blank, you print by breakfast, lunch, and supper on one sheet of paper for the same resident. If you put a BBB here, it prints all your breakfast cards. If you put a LLL, it prints all your lunch cards. SSS prints all your supper cards. If you put BYM there, it prints all your breakfast cards, and all your lunch cards, and all your supper cards. And that's fine. When you're printing all breakfast cards, it prints 3 different residents on one page, and all 3 are for breakfast for the residents that are on that page, and same likewise for lunch and likewise for supper. It is recommended that you print breakfast, lunch, and supper 1 resident per page, because you would then get a stack of sheets of paper with a tray line ready stack of breakfast cards on the right or on the left, and a tray line ready stack of tray cards for lunch in the center, and a tray line ready stack of cards for supper on the right. And you would simply tear the whole stack off and have a tray line ready stack of cards ready to go. Otherwise, if you're printing by breakfast cards first, all your breakfast cards first, you have to tear each individual sheet of paper into thirds and put the middle one behind the first one and the right one behind the middle one, and you end up recollating or having to collate all of the cards before you can actually use them. So there's much more collating involved if you print by meal, but if you just leave that box blank and print breakfast, lunch, and supper across the page for each resident, then you do much less collating and much less shuffling of tray cards before you send them down the tray line. The next option is exclude W. That is to exclude, mark certain menu items on your menu to be excluded, to downscale your select menu for other certain resident populations that you may need to downscale your select menu for. It's somewhat of an advanced feature. If you need that feature, we'll be glad to discuss it with you further. The next option is the put date on card option. If you click that, the date and the day of the week is printed at the top of each card, and this is usually requested by nursing to allow them to keep track of the tray cards, which ones are for which particular days of the week whenever they're recording their meal consumption records. The disadvantage of putting the date on the card is it means that you have to use those cards for that day, and you can't use them for any other day. The next option is the force option, and if you check that, you get the dining location list on the bottom of the screen as we saw before. If you uncheck it, it will not put the dining location on the bottom of the screen unless you're printing by dining location. This option is put on there for printing select menus. If you're printing select menus, you usually print them out in packets for each resident and pass them out to the residents in their rooms. So you want them printed by room number. But when you bring them back to the kitchen and reassemble them, you want the dining location on there so that you can send them down the tray line by dining location. So that's why you put this force option. You check that to force the dining location to be printed on the bottom of the card, regardless of whether you're printing by dining location or not. The next option is display menu on the screen. If you check it, the menu is displayed on the screen. If you uncheck it, the tray card or menu is not displayed on the screen. It may speed up printing very slightly, but usually people keep it checked simply to be able to see the menu on the screen. The next option is to print to screen. If you check that, you'll get a warning that says that nothing will be sent to your printer if you check this option. It's on there to allow you to test out certain print arrangements, certain setups, to test it out before actually printing. As if, for instance, we click set for all, and now it's checked to print to screen. Now we can click print, and we put the date on the card, click that, and now you'll see that the system is printing. Up at the top is counting up each resident as it goes through each dining location, and it looks like it's printing, but this is a good way that you can show things and test them out without having to actually print. Okay, now we're going to exit. We're going to go back into the tray card program, and we have the next option to discuss, which is put ADE pictures on card, where the mouse cursor is, and that is adaptive equipment. And we're going to go back to tray card, and you'll see the adaptive equipment at towards the bottom of the card assigned to this resident. If you uncheck that, the adaptive equipment is not there. If you check it, it is there. The next option is put color codes, and those are the colored ribbons down the left hand side of each card. If you uncheck it, they're gone. If you check it, they're back. This is referring to these main diet categories. Under your exit button, you have 4 boxes that list the main diet categories: calorie, ADA, the NAS or 2 gram sodium, the low fat, low cholesterol, and the renal categories. And you can determine the colors assigned to each one of these by double clicking the box, and it will change the color. And you can toggle through the 4 different colors that are available and assign whatever color seems right to you or to your facility based on the standard colors you are used to. Okay, this current resident has 3 different of these diet components in place. You can display up to 4 colors down the side of your card, which gives you a very powerful tool for emphasizing different diet components very clearly using 4 different colored ribbons. The next is the hydration box. If you click hydration box, the hydration box shows up on the card. This is a list of the fluids that are provided on the tray for the resident, and it has the title of the hydration box, which describes the total fluid calculated needs for the day plus how much is given at each meal. You can choose to put that title on the box, or if you check the check box next to hydration box, it takes it off, depending on how much you want to emphasize the calculations. And you can change what it goes in each of these boxes from the admission screen of the resident. That box shows up, and you can simply type over, type in, add to, edit, do whatever you want to change the hydration box for that individual resident. Okay, so we're going to uncheck that to take the hydration box off. Now we go to symbols. Symbols is checked. That refers to the icons for the different diets. If you uncheck it, they're gone. If you check it, they're back on. The box to the right of it is SF for small file size. If you check that, you don't see much difference, but it is using a smaller file size to print those icons, which can save in printer memory and slightly increase the speed of your printing. Then next to that is the small box. If you check that, the icons actually print smaller. This will also print save in printing time, printer memory, and also speed up your printing and use less ink. They also use this to print the icons on the select menu, so there's less interference with the actual menu items that are listed. Okay, the next option is the picture option, and if you check that, the pictures of the resident show up. If you uncheck it, they disappear. Okay, if you check that again, you have the small picture option already checked that makes it a small postage stamp size picture of the resident. If you uncheck that, you get a larger picture of the resident on your tray card. Now, some people think that the picture on the card is a HIPAA concern, but it's not so much the picture as it is the name of the resident on the tray card that is the HIPAA concern. The name of the resident needs to be protected like any other document that has the name of the resident on it. All tray cards, whether they are have the picture of the resident on them or not, all tray cards should be discarded through the paper shredder, just like any other document with the name of the resident on them. So regardless of whether the tray card has the picture on it of the resident or not, the tray card should be discarded through the paper shredder. After nursing uses them, they very often record meal consumption on the actual tray card. They are collected at the end of the meal. After recording that meal consumption, the tray card should be discarded through the paper shredder. The next column of options starts with number pages. If you check that, you get a number, consecutively number the pages. As you can see here, right next to room number is a small gray number, and that is the where the consecutive numbering shows up on your tray cards if this option is checked. Why would you want to do that? Well, this helps you to keep track of your printing. Say for instance you send out your breakfast cards and it comes back with 3 residents' tray cards requested because they don't have a tray for them. Well, then the question is, did those tray cards print, or were they lost when you were assembling them? So you can go back to your lunch cards and look at the consecutive numbering to see if there's a break where those residents' tray cards are supposed to be. If there is a break, then those tray cards were in fact printed, but they were lost. If there is no break, then they aren't printing. And they may not print because they could have been marked for select, and you printed non-select tray cards. It could not have printed because they are marked for tube feeding. They may not have printed. Other reasons would include that their dining location is not on the list, and therefore they printed after all of the other cards printed, so they would be at the very end of the printout when they should have been in the middle of the printout. And the last 2 or 3 pages of your printout were lost. So there are many reasons why a tray card won't print, but this numbering of the pages helps you to track down where the problem lies. The next option is the print front or back to front option. You would check that if you're printing on an inkjet printer. This is because inkjet printers print the document face up, whereas laser printers print the document face down. So you would check this so that you wouldn't have to reshuffle the whole stack in order to get them in the order that you wanted. The inkjet printing option is checked if you're printing from an inkjet printer, and that is because the inkjet printer's right margin, they do not print as far to the right as the laser printers do, so the right margin tends to be chopped off. If you uncheck it, you'll see that the tray card gets wider, slightly wider. If you check it, it pulls it in to the left a little bit, and this is a way to ensure that the right margin actually prints, the right border actually prints when you're inkjet printing. The fourth option here is put barcodes. If you check that, we'll scroll down to the bottom of the card and you'll see that the barcodes are now printing on the bottom of each tray card. And the codes contain the meal that's printed plus the resident number. And then you can use the a hand barcode scanner to scan these tray cards into the active system and easily record meal consumption. We have a program for that you set at certain levels of meal consumption and scan all the cards for that meal consumption. In other words, you would gather all your meal tray cards together at the end of the meal and put all of the residents who ate 100% in one stack, and all the residents who ate 75% in another stack, and all the residents who ate 50% in another stack, and all the residents who ate 25% in another stack, etc. And then you would set the program to read 100% and scan all your 100% cards into the system, and it only takes a second. Just point and click at each one of the barcodes, and it's read into the active system. That way you can easily and quickly record the meal consumption in a fraction of the time it would take to record it by hand. Plus, you also get the meal consumption into the active system, and the active system can use that information to monitor whose appetite is declining, who is at risk for weight loss, and it can make you much more proactive in your nutrition management of your residents than you could possibly be without that accurate, up-to-date information on every resident's meal consumption. The next option is the select only option and the non-select option. These two boxes are checked or unchecked whenever you're printing a mixture of select and non-select residents in your facility. So in other words, if you want to print your select menus and you have 20 or 30 residents marked for select in your facility, you would click Set for All, and you would make sure Select Only is checked, and then you would click Print, and it would print all of your select menu residents only and skip over all of the others. If you uncheck that and check non-select, it gives you a warning also that tells you that only non-select residents will print. So then if you're printing your tray cards, instead of your select menus, you click Set for All, make sure non-select is checked, and then click Print, and it skips over all residents that have a star by them, by their name, indicating they're on the select menu program. So that's how you print only your select menus or only your non-select tray cards. Okay, that next is the paste option. If you check that, you put the mouse cursor over this, you notice that it says the dining location will not print if this is checked. And that's because this option is for scanning tray cards from another tray card system into the active system and pasting those tray cards up underneath the picture of the resident in the active system. So this is a way that you can quickly convert from another tray card system to the active system, and then input the likes and dislikes for the residents at a later time, but immediately start printing using the active system, but it would paste the picture of the tray card from the previous system onto the tray card here. Then the system would look to see if there is a picture of a previous tray card. If there isn't, it prints these tray cards that you see on the screen now. If there is a pasted tray card, it prints the pasted tray card rather than the active system tray card. So it's a way that you can quickly get up and running on the active system without having to input all of the information from the previous system in order to get started. Okay, that's all of the different options, with the exception of the shapes checkbox over here to the far right. If you check that, you'll notice different colored dots show up on the screen, and that's another option for emphasizing different diets based on these colored dots. But that's all of the options that you have available. So now let's look at how you would print all of your tray cards using these option buttons, the 4 orange option buttons to the left. If you click the first one, it says Set for All, and that simply sets the nursing units and the resident seats and the dining locations up to print all of your residents. Okay, that's one option. Then you click print and all your tray cards would print, depending on what type of tray card you had selected here. But say you wanted to print all your select, you would click the all select, and you'll notice that now select menus are selected. So the idea here is to click set for all, then you change your options to whatever you want. You change the different check boxes and set it up exactly all the options that you want. Then you would go to nursing units and you would right click nursing units and a box shows up. So that's right clicking that nursing units label, the actual label. You right click it and the box shows up that asks you which option number button do you want to save this under. And you have 6 buttons over here. The first one, the mouse cursor is on number 1. Now the mouse cursor is on number 2. Now it's on number 3. Then 4, 5, and 6. So that's how the different numbers are numbered. The different buttons are numbered, and you tell it which button you want to store the current settings under. So we're going to store it under option number 2, option button number 2. Now we're going to click OK. And now it allows you to change the name of that option button. Notice it's currently named All Select, and we might want to just call it Select Menus. Okay. Then you click OK, and that sets this second orange option button up for printing your Select Menus. So you or your staff would then click Tray Cards from the roster program, go into this program, click Select Menus, and then click Print, and all of your Select Menus will print out. And you can do the same thing for Tray Cards. If you click Tray Cards now, you notice it's set to mark Tray Cards radio button. And the set for all was not set, but we could set for all, then go back up to Tray Cards. Now we can right click nursing units, change that to number 3. Tray Cards name comes up, we could click OK, and now we have the third button set to print all of our tray cards. So you click that, Tray Cards, and then you click print, and all your tray cards would print. So now you have 2 different buttons set up. You could, from the roster screen, click Tray Cards, come into this program, and click Select Menus, and then click Print, and all your Select Menus would print. Another way would be to come into the Tray Card program and click Tray Cards, and then click Print, and all of your tray cards would print to your non-select menus. So this is the orange option buttons are quick and easy ways to store the settings for different ways of printing under each of these buttons. And then to get the print job going, you simply have to click which orange button you want, then click Print, and you're off and printing. So it's a very effective way to solidify how you want to print and set those options up permanently, and then you or your staff simply clicks one of the orange buttons and then clicks Print, and you're off and running. Okay, that's everything about the Tray Card program. I'm going to exit the program and go back to the roster and invite you to please call tech support. We'd be glad to walk you through anything that you need to help you set up your Tray Card program to print exactly the way you want to. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much for your interest, and have a nice day.